Welcome back. Today we're going to take a look at behavior tree services, and we're also going to finally get our mob to clean up so he can take damage. We haven't done that yet. So let's start out by cleaning up our mob. So remember that we created this OurBaseCharacter. And what we need to do is we need to move the shared functionality into this base character, and some of that functionality was in this third-person character with abilities. And so we're going to need to look through here and see what we need to take care of. Okay, it looks like the last thing we had open here was this calculate updated damage. So we have to ask the question, does this apply just to human players, or does this apply to everyone? And the answer is, it applies to everyone. So we want to come into our base character here. You know what, I've had issues with this before. Because we're going to be overriding, it may actually delete this. So let's copy it first, so we don't lose it. If you're not running source control, I highly recommend it. Okay, so let's go to our base character, and we want to override a function, calculate updated damage. And we're going to paste in Control V what we've got here, and we'll have to move these nodes. Hopefully this one's still good. Yeah, see what it'll do? It puts this _0 on the end of it, because you can't have an inherited one of the same name, but this will still let us figure out what we need to connect here. Okay, so we connect output damage. We pull these source attributes and the tag, and I think that's it. We'll have to add those variables. Let's come down here to local variables. Output damage. Okay, add output damage. Type float. And derived. We can read them off the screen there. Crit chance. And derived. Crit multiplier. I think if we match the names, I think we can get them to rebind. Okay, we can't. I believe if you set them up before you paste it in, they'll rebind. Oh, let's try this. Oh, okay, cool. That's a nice feature. Normally I just dump them and re-add them, but that worked pretty good. And we'll go through and place these. Oh man, there's a ton of them. Yeah, try creating these variables before you do the copy and paste. I feel like when I did this in the test project, that worked, and I didn't have to do this. So references are one of the biggest problems with blueprints. I can't wait till oop, that was bad. Switched it with the wrong one. There we go. I can't wait till Epic creates text-based blueprints. Okay. Finally let us source control blueprints properly. Yep, I did it again there. Output damage. And also make it easier to fix broken references. Finally. Okay, cool. So we've now moved that. So we can actually come back here and dump it from the third person character with abilities because it's now in our base, which is going to get inherited by both. Okay, so we got that one taken care of. Let's go into our input graph. Shouldn't be an issue because all of that should be related to input coming from the user and therefore shouldn't be needed for the mob. But let's take a look at our event graph. Okay, so yeah, we're giving some default abilities here. Some of these only apply to the base, some do not. Player state. All these here aren't really important, but we do want this one. So we do want our death mechanic. And we're going to cut. And we're going to come over here to our event graph and hit Control V to paste. And we'll probably have to fix up some stuff here. Yeah, let's take a look. I may have done that wrong. Gonna double check. Okay, so we definitely want our death mechanic here. Oh, interesting. Refresh. Ah. Finding all kind of fun stuff here. I don't use blueprints very much, so I don't always find those things. Okay, that seemed like it worked. Make sure that's what we wanted to do. Yeah. The death mechanic is gone from there. Okay, so we should be able to come back over here. Oh, we already cut it. We cut instead of copied, so we should be good. Okay, so our death mechanic is here. There was one thing that I did want to do here for the mob, is that after we do disable movement, after we do the disable movement, I want to come in here and try to see if it's an AI. Cast to mob AI controller to get ourselves some room. And what we'll do is we'll get the controller. So we'll ask, is this controlled by an AI? If so if true here, we want to call that dead that we created last time to handle it, because it's different for an AI than it is. So we don't want, so that's if it's a mob. And then otherwise we want to call this multicast death, which is going to do this respawn timer. Let's see what's in that multicast death. We may actually need some of that. Okay. Yeah, what we would probably do here is want to know on possession what it's being possessed by. So probably what we'd do is we'd grab this. And we would want to do this cast here. We can do it off the value they send in. And we'll add a variable is mob controlled. Make it a bool. So then if it's true, we'll do this. And then what that'll let us do is we can come down here. We're still going to have to do that, but we don't want to call this show respawn UI. So we can throw a branch in here. On this is mob controlled. I usually like to do true side, so we'll actually use a not. It's just a preference, not really a right or wrong. I'm seeing the C++ code underneath it. Okay, so if it's not mob controlled, then we gotta notify. Okay, so we've got our death mechanics there. Now the next issue is, remember, the mob was not getting the I'll find it here. The mob was not getting the health bar. So this health bar here. So we need to go and set it up. So it's screen and 500, 500, and it was 100. I had this problem. I forgot this number when I did it in my test. So remember, we're up Z100. And otherwise we're taking the defaults except for screen and floating health bar. So we actually want to dump this. And if it throws some errors, that's fine, because that'll tell us what to fix later. And we want to come here and do widget health bar. And we'll go over to these settings here, screen space. Anyway, that's what we're doing for now. It's really weird. We'll come back and fix that later. It's strange because no matter how far away it is, the thing's always the same size in screen space, which looks funny. And floating health bar. And I think this was 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. And I think this was 100. Okay. So now we get to go back here and get to see the code. Yep, see this? So we get to see the code that was being used. So this was basically disabling the floating health on the player. And there were actually some problems about how this worked. And so I'm going to actually go in here and we're going to move some of this. So let's go to the tick. This was for updating the floating health. So we can move this. So let's grab this whole piece and let's cut it. No cut there. Control X. And we'll come over to our tick event here. We're going to need some more room. Drag this down. Drag these down. Okay. Now we're doing that here. And I believe the health bar, I believe that's what we needed. Okay, so we're good there, but this was actually all about the health bar, so there's no need to even have that anymore. But we have also this visibility issue. So deciding whether to set the visibility or not, we also don't need that here anymore. Okay, so let's go back into our base character. And we're going to do a few things. So the health bar visibility, seeing what got done here. Okay, so we're updating it on the base. It would be ideal if... Yeah, okay. We obviously only want to do this on the remote. Okay, so we've got that there, and we dumped that. Let's see what we get. I think we're going to get a health bar on ourselves, yeah, which is not what we want. So we're going to have to fix that one. But let's see if we've got it on our mob now. We do. We do. Let's see if it updates. Okay, it does not. Okay, so we've got a... Oh, wait. Yeah, we seem to have some kind of damage problem. So we will take a look at that. That's not updating on us, but it's showing, which is problematic. So let's take a look. Take a look. We got a few problems we need to clean up. I think what we did on loading the character, event graph. Let me find begin play here. Yeah. Okay. So what we did to hide it on the player is we came over here, and on remote, we don't need this code anymore. Actually, we do. We don't need this. We need this. And on remote, we're going to say, okay, that health bar that's inherited, set visibility, and that'll set it to off, and we're going to do that if it's locally controlled. And that should handle not showing it on us, but we should still have it on our mob. Cool. Yeah, we need to play around with why it's not taking damage. I don't have that issue in my test project, so I'll have to play around with that. But okay, I think we've moved the important stuff to our base character. So now we have that as the death mechanics. Let's up our damage so this can happen faster. Let's go into our abilities. We got rampage. The rampage. Oh, that's him attacking us. We don't want that. We want our light grenade. And we'll go into our damage effect. We're doing 1.5 times damage. Okay. Let's fix that 10 times. Especially since he's not taking damage. Yeah, it's interesting to see if there's a problem with, yeah, at least we got some damage there. I think we've got an if wrong in that damage thing we just moved. Oh, yeah, that's not good. Okay, we're gonna have to fix some state issues there too. So let's go in. I feel like that there's a logic problem in our base. Let's see here. In our base character, calculate updated damage. I feel like we got a problem here where we're potentially not calculating it right, and I don't have this issue in my test program, so it most likely means we have an error here. I'm going to compare the two. Okay, so we set the derived crit chance to 1 if it has standing in water. Okay. Otherwise, we set this to 2, 0 to 1, derived crit chance. That looks good, so it's probably how we're handling it here. Our output damage. Look at this. No, that looks good. I just changed where that was at. Derive crit chance, output damage, false output damage, and we connected the new damage. Okay. That looks the same. Maybe that's not where the issue is. I'm going to add a print string. And just put taking damage. So what we want to see is if it's getting to here on every single attack or not. I think it is, but we will take a look. Okay, it's not. So it's some kind of collision problem. It doesn't have anything to do with our calculating damage. Well, that's good. So we'll come back in here, dump that print string, and we'll assume this code is good. So now I got to figure out why we have a problem with our collision. So let's go into light grenade, and we're interested in our replicated projectile because that's what does it on the server. And what we want to see here is, are we sending this gameplay event? So string sent gameplay event. Let's see if we get here. Could do Shift F1, we'll get our cursor back. And let's see. Oh, not even sending the gameplay event. Oh. That time it did. Still not taking damage, even though it sent the event. Okay. But it doesn't seem to be sending the event very, doesn't seem to be sending the event very good either. Okay. Let's take a look at what we got here. So we're doing some tests. I'm going to compare this. I'm going to do some comparison here to what I've got in my test project because it's not showing any issues there. Let's take a quick look at client defaults. Looks good. Let's take a look at these blueprints. Good. Good. Locally controlled text. Query only sphere. New hidden looks good. Come down to our component hit. Okay. Check for actor. Self. Looks good. Yep, looks good. Get owner. Okay, let's check our collision settings. This is where things can get complicated. So we do have simulation generates hit event. That's good. Okay, custom, no collision. World dynamic. Yep, that would be right. No, we don't want this to block the camera and the visibility. We don't have vehicles or destructibles. Interesting. Let's see what our collision is on our, oh, we might have already had that open. On our base character, capsule component is set to pawn. Character mesh. Okay. So it's going to generate a hit event on the pawn. Let's take a look here. Yeah, it's generating hit events. Okay. Let's see what we get here. Print string. Hit. Now let's give it a test. Should be getting these 100% of the time. We killed ourselves. Nice. That's awesome. Okay, so we died correctly, and we were taking damage, but it was not. So it's got to be related to the sphere here. I'm actually running slightly, let's see if, so I'm running those. And world static. Which is obviously wrong. Let's see if it makes a difference. Oh, I went too far away. Maybe it doesn't have anything to do with the collision. Maybe it's that it's despawning on the server too early. So I'm going to set this back. That should have been world dynamic. My other project is wrong. Collision enabled here is no collision, but we have something that turns that on, so let's double check that. What happens here is that remote, so it does query only if it's on the server or if it is not locally controlled. And that was our way that we fixed the issue that about the replication and not firing twice. So that looks good. But I feel like there's a problem over in what's launching this. So let's go to our, let's go to our ability. Server respects remote ability to cancel. This thing will get you every time. Check the test project and see if that got turned off. Yep, it did. Yep. Gotta watch this one. So what happens, unfortunately, is that when the server respects remote ability to cancel, it means that once it hits endability on the client, it makes a call directly back to the server to tell it to stop. Now, because the owning client is often ahead of the server equal to the lag amount, that actually stops it before it would have finished. And so if we could run this in slow motion, or I turned on our packet lag, we would probably see that we're taking damage on the client, and then it's instantly being overwritten from the server, because on the server we never did take damage. But let's see if that fixes it. And look at that. Yeah. We still got to figure out the double spawning, but it looks like the damage is now happening every time. So that was definitely what was getting us. Gotta go back over to light grenade, server respects remote ability to cancel. I would say start with this unchecked. I'm really not sure why checked is the default. I guess it depends on if the client has a way to cancel the ability. In this case, they don't. So that's what our That's what our issue here is. So let's do that, and let's come back here and fix our damage. Okay, so we do have a death issue with our mob. Once it's dying, it's getting spawned again. So we've got an issue there. Okay, but at least we fixed the spawning. Okay, cool. Well, we're gonna come back to that death issue, but now we're gonna create our service. So this guy chases us, and then after a certain amount of time of him chasing us, when he's too far away, out of his area, he just despawns. Well, that doesn't look good. So what we need instead is that he chases us a certain distance, turns and runs back, and then at a further distance away where you can't see him doing that, you then let him despawn. So what we need to create is a service. And a service, a behavior tree service, lets us run. It's kind of like the tick event, right? It lets us tick something to check for conditions. And so we're going to go here to blueprint class, and we'll start typing service. We want this BT service blueprint base. And we're going to call this BT service underscore check distance to home. Okay, so we need to create some variables here. This one's going to be the home location, and this is going to be a key selector, Blackboard key selector. We also need one for Blackboard entry to clear, and we also need one for Blackboard entry to set true. And then we're also going to need a float for distance to home that he turns back at. Okay. And we'll set maybe the default at 1,000, kind of low for testing here. Okay, we're going to go over here and we're going to say the receive tick event. And remember, this owner actor is not the actor, the mob, it is the AI controller. This one gets me every time. And then we will grab the mob off that. We will check if the mob is valid. And we're going to get the location of the mob, and we're going to test it against the home location. Get vector. And so to figure out the distance, we're going to do subtraction, which will create a vector pointing from one to the other. And if we have a vector that points from one to the other, we just have to ask, how long is that vector? And then we're going to compare that and say, is that greater than the distance to home, which is the value which we'll turn around at. So if the answer is true, and we need to turn around and run back to home, then what we want to do is we want to clear this Blackboard value, which in our case is going to be the target. So clear Blackboard value. This is on true. And it's valid. And then we're going to set this Blackboard value. Set Blackboard value as bool, because we're going to have to use a bool type. That's why I put true in the name, so we could remember that. And we're going to basically set this to true, which we can use. Okay, so we're good there. Now we've got to go and we got to redo some of this. So I purposefully did this the wrong way with all these ugly decorators so that I could now show you the right way to do this. And we're going to start splitting this up. So what you see ended up happening, that's kind of ugly, is we ended up with these conditions being duplicated over and over, and that is not ideal. So what we can do instead, you can see here we say target not set, target not set, target not set. Oh, they all have that in common. Okay. Let's grab down a selector that goes to all of these. And that selector has the decorator. Blackboard and it's going to be target, not set, observer aborts both. Okay, so by doing that, I'm now able to go into each one of these and dump them, because this one's going to take care of it. And we're now able to basically deepen our tree, which also is going to lead to higher performance. Okay. We've got another one here. Herd location is not set. Herd location is not set. Now, in reality, this one actually says herd location is set. So I'm pretty sure that the way these selectors work is it goes until it's true. And since this one's true, it would keep doing them. So actually, this is technically correct. However, it's a bit harder to read and understand. So I'm going to throw in this and put Blackboard, and it is the herd noise location is not set, and I don't think that was an abort. Okay. I really don't think this is needed though, so we can do a test to find out, but I don't think it's needed. A little easier to read. And then we're also going to create one over here. We need to go and create a new key for a bool type of is running home. Okay, and we're going to go create a selector over here. Actually, hold on. Yeah. We're going to end up actually doing... I'm going to move this and get me some room. Actually, it's easier to pull these. Get some room here. We're going to grab a selector that says selector, and this one's going to have a decorator. And this one's going to be is running home set. And it'll abort if it's not set, so it starts running away right away. That's actually going to go to here and to here. Okay, and we're going to come over here, and so this one, if it's set, so if it's not set, we're going to pull a sequence over here, and this sequence is the running home. So we're going to say, okay, move to home location, and then we're going to say, okay, when you get there, do a reset for 5 seconds, and then we're going to use our clear BT task, clear Blackboard entry, and we're going to clear the is running home, which will then make it get back into the normal loop. Okay, but we need to use our new service. So what we can do is we can come down here. Well, first of all, we got to ask, where do we want the service? So the service is checking the distance to home. So do we need to do it all the time? No. Do we need to do it when we're running home? No. Do we need to do it at this level when is running home is set? No. Do we need to do it when we're, moving to locations that we already picked that we know won't be outside the range? No. The only time that we need to do it is when the target is chasing us. So we come to add service, and now we're checking that home distance. Now, the options are not here because I made a mistake I often make, which is these things did not get set to public. So if you don't see those there, that is why. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to clear target when it's outside the range, right? So it stops chasing us. And then we want to set to true is running home. And this is really low, but we'll start with that for testing. Okay. So we should be good to go on testing that. The one thing I do want to do is I do want to make this a little bit bigger, because otherwise it's possible the run home is not within that radius, so it'll despawn before it runs home. So I'm going to do like 80. I think that's big enough. And let's see what we get. So it should spawn further away now. See if he finds us. Okay, we got an error in our AI controller. So, or in our behavior tree. So let's bring up this behavior tree. Obviously, we did something wrong here. So this one needs to be not set. Otherwise, it's never going to do anything. Let's give it a try now. There we go. Okay. Now he should come close enough. There we go. And he returns to his home location. Okay, see, he didn't return all the way to the home location. And the reason why was because of that 2-second delay we added. So that he was actually had already moved for 2 seconds before it set the home location. I had this problem when I was testing it. So let's go to our Mob AI controller. And you see here we've got this home location being set. And so what we need to do with that is that we need to move running the behavior tree until after we set it. Otherwise, what ends up happening is with that delay, he's already moved toward us before he sets the home location. It ends up not being the right value. I had to print string it out and compare it to figure out that error. Okay. Should be better now. Okay, see if he notices us. Oh, okay. So he's running that 5-second delay. We're going to actually pull up this blueprint tree so we can see what's happening. See, he's in the wait. He comes not very far away. And then he does his reset, right? So he comes, that's that 1,000, so we can increase that 1,000 to a higher number. But he basically runs toward us. He's trying to attack us, but at some point we run out of his range, and he then resets. Now let's go into his range, make sure he's still properly running the attack sequence. Yep. And now if we go way out of his range, well, he's probably going to despawn, but potentially if we hide behind a tree, I don't know if these trees are big enough. We're too far away. He despawned. Yeah. I was just going to see if he was still doing his move too. He should. We didn't mess that up, so he should still do his moving around. We could potentially lower his vision distance to test that, or we could just go start making all these values a lot larger, like it would actually be. But I wanted small numbers here for testing. So that is how you can use a service. There's one more thing I want to show you on the service that we did not look at, and that is how often it runs. So here it's running with an interval of 0.5 with a random deviation of 0.1. So this would be 0.4 to 0.6. There's no reason to have a random deviation here. It can be useful though for mixing things up if it's something that that's something where people could potentially game it because they knew how long it took. Throwing some random in would be nice there. So this service is going to run every half a second, and it's going to check to see, hey, is he too far away? And if so, it sets the is running home, and he does the is running home sequence, clears it, and then he's back into the normal thing. And so that is how you can use services. They're really good. Services are great because the tasks only run if they're on that task, but services can run across tasks and look for all different kinds of things. So really useful. You definitely want to use them in your AI setup. Okay, until next time. See ya.